Good evening, and welcome to the Sundance Film Festival 2022 Women's Leadership Celebration. I'm Scott Anderson, President and CEO of Zions Bank. Zions Bank and the Sundance Institute have been hosting this event for the past 9 years to recognize local leaders who contribute so much to the quality of life. At Zions Bank, we value diversity. We are proud to empower women in seizing opportunities and becoming leaders in their respective fields. Tonight, we're delighted to come together virtually to celebrate the contributions of women to business, to social justice, to the environment, to politics, and to advocating for victims. It is now my honor to introduce an incredible pool of talented women whose accomplishments span our state and beyond. This year's honorees include Utah's Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, Kathi Garff, Chair of the Board of Directors of Ken Garff Automotive Group, Liz Owens, CEO of YWCA Utah, Elizabeth Smart, founder, Elizabeth Smart Foundation, and now with Malou Foundation, and Sarah Wright, CEO of Utah Clean Energy. Tonight, we'll enjoy a private screening of the documentary Calendar Girls. But first, we will hear some insights from each of these inspiring women.
Once I got elected to the Utah Senate in 2012, it did not take me very long to realize that my voice, my perspective as a woman really did matter. And it was missing. It was really a missing component in government. So I have been very vocal about needing more women in government, needing more women in leadership positions, needing more women in politics. In order to make whole decisions, we've got to have both men and women. When I first got elected as Lieutenant Governor, I asked our cabinet members to do an in-depth review of their agencies and look at not only the wage gap, but where the leadership gaps were and the opportunity gaps. And we're finding them all over the place. I feel like talking about it more and more has helped start to turn that tide. And it's not always popular and it's not always easy, but it's something that's been very important to me. What motivates me is knowing that I can make a difference for people who really need me, who really need an advocate, who need a voice, to be a voice for the voiceless, to be a champion for the underdog, to get up in the morning and know that this position isn't about me. It's about the people who are coming after me. It's about the women who are coming after me. I'm very intentional about making sure that I am reaching out and that I am showing future leaders what it looks like to be a woman in this position.
I really had to step up as a leader 2 years ago when my husband passed away. He passed away from COVID. The board of directors and my family sat me down and said, "We want you to carry on the legacy of Robert Garff." A wonderful opportunity for me to keep my husband alive and his vision alive of helping others and working in the community. So I accepted the challenge. They also asked me to chair the Success in Education Foundation. It includes Keys to Success, Road to Success for elementary students, and Code to Success, and esports, and the Women Who Succeed programs. And we are going to continue to grow with the needs that are out there. I'm very happy to speak up for public education, and I hope that everyone puts teachers on a pedestal and rolls up their sleeves and helps the public education system. The way I try to encourage other people is to develop the art of listening. When you listen and really understand what people want and what they need, they pretty well figure out their own solutions. The thing that motivates me the most is my family, my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, because I want them to love this world that we live in. And I want them to be a part of change, and I want them to be a part of their grandfather's legacy of opportunity. And that's what motivates me.
I started my role as CEO with YWCA Utah in April 2020, which was the second week of the lockdown in Utah. Suddenly, I found myself responsible for 120 staff and many more participants, most of whom are children, and most of whom are from our community's most vulnerable. They're in families who are experiencing crisis and who have recently been made homeless by the experience of domestic violence. Now with the current surge, we continue to be greatly impacted. We are finding ourselves on the front lines of multiple pandemics, not just COVID, but homelessness, domestic violence, sexual assault, childcare, housing affordability, economic empowerment, race and gender equity. And our work continues to be incredibly important and critical to the well-being of our communities. I don't think it's ever easy to speak up, but I do know that sometimes the hurt and the harm of remaining silent becomes greater than the fear and the anxiety of speaking up. I also know that there are different ways to speak up, to register your opinion, to your support, your disagreement. Obviously there's voting, but there's lots of ways to show up, lots of big and small ways, and I think lots of decisions and opportunities in our day-to-day lives where we have the opportunity to speak up and demonstrate what we believe through our actions. I have so many opportunities to make a positive impact, and that feels like the greatest motivator. The way in which you express your care and compassion for our community and for other humans will look different for everyone. But my hope is just that everybody leans into that and digs into that.
It would have been very easy to never speak out publicly, to distance myself from advocacy, from trying to educate and help change culture on sexual exploitation. It would have been very easy to walk away from all that. I feel like trying to help make our community and our country a better place is also my way of saying thank you to the thousands of people who searched and prayed for me, making sure that whatever I'm being asked to be involved in, making sure whatever I am lending my voice or my support to, I need to be true to myself. Saying no is really, really difficult for me, but finding those places to say no and to actually follow through saying it is huge, and I think that's probably pretty good advice for everyone, especially women. I have a lot of motivating factors in my life. Many of them are the different survivors that I've met over the course of my advocacy work. They are the reason why I keep speaking. A time that I could not stay silent was when my foundation launched the We Believe You campaign. And it's all about supporting survivors and believing survivors and giving them all the help and the support that they deserve. So for me, speaking out on how we as a community, as a country, as frankly a world, we need to do a better job in supporting and believing our victims, that's been huge for me.
I never thought of myself as a leader, and It wasn't until my early 40s that I really started to step into the role as a leader. When you look into your son's eyes and you see that you have some power to help make the future better for him and his generation, I knew I had to leave my past career behind and start advocating for climate solutions in Utah. While we've been working on climate change for 20 years in Utah, in the beginning, we only spoke about the solutions, about clean energy, about reducing emissions from fossil fuels, about our economy. And it became clear about 6 years ago that we had to move into leading out on climate change. And it would have been easier to stay silent, but it was critical that conservative states like Utah and pragmatic states like Utah help move the nation beyond partisanship. And I'm so proud now that there are over 170 leaders in the state of Utah that have come together to help advance conversations about how Utah can lead on pragmatic climate solutions. The thing that keeps me up at night is also the thing that motivates me to get up in the morning. And that is the potential devastating impacts of climate change. But what gets me up is the excitement and the movement and what we can do to mitigate those impacts of climate change. We can solve really hard, intractable problems if we work together.
Good evening. Congratulations to each of tonight's honorees. So deeply grateful to how you model voice, possibility, and power to our communities. Growing up between New York City and Utah taught me a lot about civil discourse. Starting in 2016, I found myself in a primal tug to come back to Utah and raise my girls and continue that conversation. In 2018, I did just that. I now live and work here in the film industry and will continue to bring the trade of filmmaking to more Utahns in the days ahead. The honorees we just heard from are an important part of this ongoing drive to amplify a diverse cross-section of women leadership, which will result in Utah being a more equitable place to live for all identities. When my father founded the Sundance Institute in 1981, his vision stemmed from the deep belief that we are capable of embracing and ingesting stories that are not just our own. He could see the power in underrepresented voices, and specifically how critical it was to create pathways for women in a male-dominated industry, not just for their benefit, but for the benefit of culture and community at large. Women represent about 50% of filmmakers in this year's festival. Tonight, I'm pleased to introduce the documentary film Calendar Girls, a lively and intimate look at women who define expectations imposed on them and who dance through every stage of life. Please enjoy Calendar Girls, directed by Maria Lufaved and Love Martinson. Thank you.